one of the things we have accepted defeat on is this is where I planted out the Kailan, which is supposed to be like an oriental sprouting broccoli with really fat stems. And it just wasn't growing. It was really stunted. And that's what, and one was weeding around it, one's just pulled up. And this is the root system that we found underneath. So basically, we now know that the club root is really bad in this bed, which means we have to mark this bed up as one that's got really bad club root. I mean, we've got club root everywhere, but it's worse in some places than in others, and this appears to be a bit of a hot spot. There were two plants that looked like they were doing better than the rest, so we've just left them in to see if anything will come with them, because we've never grown Kailan before. It would be nice just to get like one Kailan shoot so we could taste it and know if we want to grow it, you know, in the future. But it means now we've got a bit of space in the end here, and I'm not putting any brassicas in, of course, but we do have a lot of chicory to go in. There's also some spring onions that I might try and dot in here. The beetroot, we have got a bit of beetroot in there that the badgers didn't dig up before we put this down. I do have beetroot in there that is ready to go out, but I really want to get that into the polytunnel, so I'm not going to put that here. But yeah, I think we've got three different types of chicory actually. We've got one that came from a plot neighbour up there. We did a bit of an exchange, and it's the dotty one. I think it's called Freckles. We've also got one called Chicory, which is a really, really long leafed one. And we have Rose of Venice chicory. So that should populate this end quite nicely, and it's not vulnerable to the club root. So I am going to plant them out. So I'm using chicory as a bit of a broad term, to be honest. One of these is a classic chicory, a bit like the dandelion looking thing you can see is also in this bed. That was from last year. But they do really, really sprout if you keep chopping them back. But I've also got radicchio and endive, like they're also considered chicories. So that's what we've got in here. The Rosa de Venice is a proper like radicchio style one, so it's loose and open and quite pink and absolutely beautiful. The Freckles is an endive, so it's a very tight, little, short, pointy one. And the Cicoria, which I know is just chicory in Italian, but the variety is actually just called Cicoria, is a very, very long, slender one, a little bit like the dandelion one here, except the leaves are much, much narrower, so it's almost like a grass. That long grass type is also sometimes known as puntarelle or pontarea, depending on where you are. But I've never grown this particular variety before. I normally grow a red stemmed and a green stemmed, which is much more of a chunky leaf. But chicory gets a bit of bad press. It is very bitter, and you do have to quite like bitter flavours to enjoy it, but it's not as disgustingly bitter as, say, for example, that chicory coffee replacement stuff. Ugh! Hey girlies, that could turn your face inside out, couldn't it? It's gusting, girls. Absolutely gusting, yeah. So, how have you got into the netting, girlies? Hey, Rube, show me how you got in. This is supposed to be, you know, netted, i.e. birds can't get in. Girlies? Not impressed. I really fear for our netting abilities. Hey, Ruby, go on. Oh, well, that would do it. That would do it, girlies.
You can't get much higher, Bubba. Oh, you're being very cuddly today, Lils. Very cuddly.
Adding to the list of things that have been incredibly late this year, the zinnias have only really just started getting going, would you believe? Normally they're like an early summer and then all the way through till autumn thing, but I mean, they've just sat there doing nothing, but it is worth the wait. And I did like 5 varieties this year. Some of them were eaten off immediately that I put them out, so we don't have that many, but what is here is gorgeous. Talking of gorgeous, a couple of those Tokyo turnips have actually survived being badgered. And look at that. Aren't they beautiful? They're so white. Absolutely gorgeous. There's probably about 6 in here that survived after. Do you remember that beautiful, neat little row we had? As you can see, they've been dug out again, so a lot of these are actually just lying on the surface. But the ones that did manage to stay in have done brilliantly. And I think I'm going to include this variety for next year. Even though it was a freebie at the beginning of the year and a bit of a gamble, I think the Tokyo White is going to be a permanent on our list. I think it may even take over from Snowball. Right now, I actually feel a bit tearful. This is the least convenient one to take because it's not freeing up any space, but I think it's the most ready.
Okay. And which one's
That's absolutely
like
gorgeous.
it's gone the furthest in here?
Do you think the girls might like that, or do they not like lettuce?
They're not over keen on lettuce, but I'll put it in anyway.
These actually still feel alright. I might take this one.
Okay.
That one's gone, but this one hasn't.
Make more lettuce soup, I think.
Shall I take that one too then?
Yeah, make some.
This one definitely looks like the furthest ahead.
Okay, ready?
Down. Eating.
Yep. Okay, you got everything?
Nothing.
Right, okay.
Go back to the and the keys are in here. Before we head home, I don't know if you remember if last week one of the things I needed to do was sow coriander and I didn't have any coriander seeds, so we're just nipping over to Chapman's, to see if they've got any. We've only got about 4 minutes before they close, so it's going to be race, race, race.
Right, there you go, darling.
Actually, it's probably a good thing we've only got like 3 minutes, because there's some pretty gorgeous autumn flowering stuff in here that I don't need, but I want, obviously.
Morning, girlies. Morning, gorgeous. Morning, that's gorgeous. Huh? Morning. Oh.
Oh, wow. This sunshine, I don't think it's going to last very long, so I'm going to appreciate it while it's out, because it was actually 4 days ago that we went and picked up this coriander, and it has not stopped raining for 4 days. But basically it's been grey, and every like 20 minutes this like flurry of rain would come over, and then it would go away. Oh yeah, well, let's go to the allotment, and then more rain would come over. So basically it has rained basically for 4 days. Wonderful. Anyway, we have got sunshine this morning, and it's supposed to cloud over again, and yes, you guessed it, to rain this afternoon, but not until like 1 o'clock, and it is currently 10 o'clock. So yeah, we've got a couple of hours. And the main thing that I want to do is get this coriander in. I'm going to put it in 2 places. I'm going to pull the rest of the carrots out of the carrot bed up the top, which is like the little bed with its own cover on it. And I'm also going to start some off in cell trays in the greenhouse, which we're then going to put into the polytunnel for overwinter. Kind of depends on what sort of early winter we're going to have, because last year it didn't work, but the year before I just sowed coriander outside at this time, and we had a fantastic crop of it because we had a really like mild lead in to winter, so it grew perfectly. But at the moment it's so up and down, I've got no idea. 1 minute they're telling us there's an Arctic plume coming down, which is going to plummet us to -2. That was like 3 days ago I read that in the news, and then suddenly there's no mention of it again, and now we're having some sort of heat wave coming up from the south. So basically I think the weather is moving so quick at the moment, nobody knows what the hell is going on. So I'm going to hedge my bets and do some for the poly and some outside, and we'll see if we get any from either. Also going to check in the polytunnel, see if we've got any more tomatoes to pick. The girlies are out and about having a lovely time. Actually, I want to talk to you about the DEFRA registration for any UK chicken holders. Yeah, I don't know how long this sunshine's going to last, so I'm going to crack on with this. Actually, do you know what? It's not as crowded in that box as I thought it was. I think I can leave all of the Sorry about that noise. I don't know if you can hear it, but the cricket players are back and they're pulling the screens around the edge of the bowling nets. Yeah, so actually it's not as crowded in there as I thought, and I reckon I can keep some of those carrots on one end, just do a bit of weeding, clear it all, and there'll be space to put coriander in there, no worries. I can leave the underdeveloped carrots in there, don't have to strip them all out today. There's an interesting set of weeds in here. We have got lemon balm and clover. Oh, that's a stinging nettle. That looks very much like lemon balm. Don't go grabbing that one, Jessie. The carrots, these are the ones that I'm going to leave in, are actually all right. Mum picked a load of these last week and they were perfect, absolutely delicious. They weren't huge, but they were good. So I'll leave them in, see if we can get a little bit more growth out of them. And I'll just chuck the coriander in the other side. See these carrots here? This is all that's left. That little patch there, oh, and one up here, that is all that's left of the original second sowing we did. So this was the first sowing of carrots. This was the second. We've picked a few of those, they were purple. And this was the third, got eaten, and the fourth. So yeah, not hugely. Early ones, very successful. Late ones, not so much this year. I'm getting rained on actually, it's not even raining. But there's so much water still in the trees. As soon as the wind blows, it's all just pouring out of them. Come on. I'm not even going to, can you see me? I'm not even going to bother putting these in rows like I normally would. There's going to be nothing else growing in here. Coriander is really easily identifiable as a seedling, so it's not going to get mixed up into the other weeds that will inevitably pop up in here. But this is a bit of a gamble, like I say. If we have a really decent patch of weather before the end of the year, we'll get a good crop. Obviously, this is going to have the EnviroMesh box over the top of it, so it is afforded a little bit more protection than it would if it was just out and about. Okay, let's go and sow some in the greenhouse. one. Ah, spiderweb in the face. Wow. Come on, chaps. These are supposed to go red. Seems so unlikely at the moment. And my lemon drop are very much not lemon coloured. These, now I keep trying to call them Aurora. Haha. I'll try and remember what they are, but they're the habanero that I got from Ian at Grown Local. He very kindly gave me the seed to these. Such a beautiful pepper. They're like purple and green, and one of them that we got so far had gone orange. Yeah, it's just an absolute beauty. Really impressed. I just want them to go proper colour, you know. They're supposed to go orange red when you pick them. We did actually eat a purple one because it fell off. And the flavour of it was really delicious, but not even a sausage of heat. Nothing at all in the heat department. Just a really good, like, beautiful pepper flavour. Yeah, what else have we got going on in here? This one's coming along. These are, yeah, I mean, there's stuff happening. There is definitely stuff happening. We have got the hot bananas down here, which are looking wonderful. Not quite sure what stage we're supposed to be picking them, but they are looking gorgeous. Loads of them in there. Anyway. Oh, excitement, excitement. Let me show you. Oh, hello, Lily. Lily. Hello, darling. Good morning. Bit of sunshine, huh? Isn't that lovely? Yeah, I know we all like a bit of sunshine. But have a look at this. We actually have the first aubergine of the year, and we're about to turn to October, but yeah, I'm really pleased. Just to have one is a nice thing. I know, darling. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, hot pussycat. Whew. It is warm in here. Actually, what temperature did it get down to last night? Because it was pretty chilly. Oh, it was 3.9 in here last night. That is cold enough to really upset these chilies. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, so I've got quite a few trays that are looking a bit like this at the moment. Please excuse the fact that they're looking very sad and dry. They're hot. I will just give them a bit of a water in a moment. But these are all things that are ready to come out, but I've actually got space in the end where I've kind of taken things out. So I'm going to just sow my coriander straight into some of these empty slots rather than getting a whole new tray. That'll do me fine. Yeah, I've got some on this side. Oh, you'll be surprised to hear that no agretti has come up from that previous sowing. Look at this. It's still blank. But the one is still doing good. Look at that. My mono agretti. The beautiful thing that it be. Okay, let's clear a bit of space in here and get some coriander in. Please excuse the sniffing. I'm so sorry. I've woken up with a bit of a cold. I don't know whether it's tree or grass or like a, you know, hay fevery type thing, or whether I've just got another cold. I hope it's not another cold because, like, I'm not really much of a colds person. Like, I very rarely pick stuff up, which is weird because I have a lowered immune, like an artificially lowered immune system, but I don't seem to pick these things up, which is normally great. But all of a sudden, I'm getting a whole string of colds. Right. Let's chuck these in here in little clumps. Even though they're big seed, I won't just do one seed per hole because that's not how I really need to plant them out. I'll plant them in little groups anyway. What are you up to, girlies? Huh? You having a nice time? Tell you what, if I move that bit of cardboard, I bet there's going to be goodies underneath it for you. What do we think might be under there? Ooh, lots of nice creatures for girlies. Come back, sillies. Where's that Lil? Where's that Lil? Beautiful girl. Yeah. And that, chaps, was my main objective for this morning. So, objective achieved. Might just go and have a look around. I wonder if that spinach has come up that we sowed last week. No, sorry about my shadow. Nothing yet. That was in that space there. Having a good old peer at it, but I can't see anything that's come up. I actually have some that's ready to go out though, back in the greenhouse, chaps. Yeah, I've got some that are looking really strong in here. That is these chaps here, bit of spinach. All of these are looking fantastic, although nothing has happened. Oh, it's an agretti. There's another one up. Oh, that's really exciting. You can see what weird seedlings they are though. You see that? It just looks like a sort of brown stick. One of the jobs I've been meaning to do for ages is to raise the canopy of this little cherry tree. So this is Regina. Yes, I had to scroll back through like 3 years of Instagram posts to try and remember what this one was called. But yeah, it's Regina, which is a gorgeous sweet cherry. We only got one this year. Last year there was only 2 fruit on it and the birds had both of them. This time we had loads of fruit. The birds got all but one of the cherries. So I'm hoping next year we'll have more luck. But I want to keep the branches away from the base because we're going to use the space underneath it for bulbs and that kind of thing. So I'm just taking the branches off lower. Tidying up the shape is also going to make it a lot easier to protect next year. So I'm going to try and form it into a bit of a ball shape so that we can actually get some netting over it next year. This year it was just way too cumbersome. I meant to do this like at the end of August, beginning of September. It's the end of September. Oh well, at least it's being done. And once I've chopped this all back and given it a really good tidy, we'll give it a proper good mulch underneath and hopefully be in line for some good cherries next year. So yeah, I mentioned earlier that we had registered the girlies. So in the UK, on the 1st of October is the deadline that all poultry or bird keeping has to be registered. So up until this point, it's been, for example, with chickens, you only had to register if you had more than 50 birds or more than 49 birds, so 50 birds upwards. But yeah, they've changed the rules. So any number, even if you've just got just a mono chicken, you have to register them. So we did that. It was super easy. I will put the link to the government registration bit in the description in case anybody hasn't done it yet. But yeah, it was super easy. It was just like who owns the chickens, who's the primary contact for the chickens in case that's 2 different people, and where are they. So you have to have a postcode for your allotments, which is interesting because I've never looked for a postcode for these before, so I had to do like a Google pin drop search to find it, and then they give you a pin drop so you can show exactly where the chickens are kept, or the turkeys, or whoever you've got, ducks, whatnot, and then you just register and it's really easy. So yes, girlies are all registered, little loves. We had to tell them how many chickens we had, but interestingly they didn't want to know their names. I was imagining having to, fill out little passports for each of the girlies, but no. But no, Lil. They didn't want that much detail. They didn't even need to know that they were bantams. It was just that they were egg-laying hens. Oh, right. Well, this is absolutely glorious. This weather is beautiful. Mum's on her way up. And I think my next job is going to be go in the polytunnel and see if there's any more tomatoes to pick. There's one whopper in there. It's the goat bag. Sorry, I'm swinging let me just stop that. The goat bag is so nearly red, like it's really starting to come, but I think it might be a little bit early to pick it, but still, let's go and have a look. Hey Lil, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to leave you on here, madam, in the sunshine. I'm gonna have to leave you, girlie. Yeah, I have to leave that girl. Let's get in there before Mum gets back and then I can show her the treasure. Sorry, Lil. Actually, the last few days, it hasn't just been the rain, it's been the wind as well. And haven't really got the Velcro properly on here or anything yet. So we've actually just half stapled the door down. So I have to crawl in basically. It only opens up so far, but oh well, that should keep the heat in a bit. Ooh! This is the goat bag that's coming good. That's well exciting. There are others up there, but they're nowhere near. How are these rebel starfighters doing? Oh, I really want this one. I want it. It's so beautiful, but nowhere near ready. This is the other one that I'm desperate for. This is the Sart Relays. I really, really want that one. This Fusion are, yeah, they're coming along. You can feel that they're really softening up now. Getting that little orange tint. We've had a couple of those ones. This is the other one that I really, really want. The Alice's Dream that was so beautiful last year. The finest tasting tomato. But I'm afraid that's not really showing any signs of ripening, which is a real shame. Oh, my hands smell lovely like tomatoes. Well, there's a few to pick in here. Yeah, we've actually tried putting bananas in. You know, when you're in a fruit bowl, well, not when you're in a fruit bowl, but when there's a fruit bowl that needs ripening things, you put bananas in with them and they release that chemical which helps with ripening. Oh, these are starting to go now. That's exciting. Well, we're hoping by scattering bananas in the bottom of the polytunnel that we're going to encourage ripening. That's what I hope anyway. That's a bit of a long shot, to be fair, but you know. Anyway, how are these going? There's Sun Gold to pick, there's Garnet to pick, there's Green Doctor to pick, there is Black Moon to pick. Yeah, there's a couple that I'm desperate for though. Like I say, the Sart Relays, the Alice's Dream, I really want that goat bag. And Galaxy's one I want to try. This gorgeousness here, you can see why it's called Galaxy, but it's going, look. It's just starting to change colour, very exciting. There's a couple of these guys. This is the old Japanese black trifeli, which is nice, but although that looks like it's gone quite red, they're supposed to go really dark, so it's still got a little way to go. The Black Beauties are looking proper black. Hang on, look at that. Oh, look how hairy that is. Yeah, look, that's proper black tomato, that is. These are probably, I would say, the prettiest. Look at this. That is just so beautiful. Pink and green and purple and like peachy orange. But you know what? Like Sun Gold, yeah. I mean, they taste great. Obviously, it's Sun Gold, but I'm talking with my mouth open. It's difficult not to talk with your mouth open. I mean, I'm talking with my mouth full. I was reading an article this morning, just in the newspaper, that was written by a guy who was in charge of, well, not in charge of, but he had interviewed a load of guys who were in charge of various restaurant gardens, you know, so restaurants that pretty much grow all their own stuff for the restaurant. So one of the examples they were looking at was, is it the Black Pig, the Old Pig, the Black Old Pig, something like that. Anyway, where Tommy Banks's restaurant is up in Yorkshire. And he was saying that across the board, he's been hearing from people that not only all the weather complaints that we've all had this year, but they're like halfway through September, they're starting to get a glut of courgettes they just haven't had for the whole rest of the year. Where like when you're doing it, it's fine for us, you know, like we're just growing for ourselves. But if you were growing for a restaurant, that'd be so difficult. And they're saying like, obviously you're planning courgette and pea and stuff recipes for really early in the year for like the spring bit. And then you're not getting them until like the end of August, halfway through September. And then suddenly you've got masses of courgettes that you've got to find some kind of autumnal recipe, you know, when they're mostly kind of thought of as a real spring staple. So yeah, I was thinking about how lucky we are that it's just for us. This isn't, you know, a major deal breaker in a restaurant or anything. But one of the other things that one of the people was saying who was interviewing this was that what they found is that actually even the tomatoes that they've had that have come ripe, they've got a real slow tomato issue as well. Not alone. But that they haven't found that the tomatoes are anywhere near as sweet as they normally are. And I absolutely agree. We haven't had a lot of the ones that I was really keen on trying this year. We don't have any of the Alice's Dream or the Sart Relays, which were the two that I was really, really keen to do a bit of a taste test with. But even Sungold, like just eating that Sungold there, like it's sweet, it's nice, it's delicious, but it's not what Sungold is supposed to be, which is just like wow. When you eat it, it's just like sugar and just the most delicious thing. And it's just not, there's just not enough sustained heat, or well, we've had a couple of really hot days, but whatever it is, it's just not doing it for the tomatoes this year, which is a shame. It's a shame. But what I was going to say is that if anybody's grown any tomatoes that they've previously heard great things of and found that actually they were a bit kind of mediocre, don't trust it. It might just be this year. You may have found an absolute gem of a tomato. Don't write it off, because 2024 was the year of the bland tasting tomato. Well, not bland, that's unfair. But the tomatoes are not outrageously excellent like they often are. Anyway, I think I've just heard Mum arrive, so I'm going to go and see if she's out there. Hello! Yep, she is here. Yeah.
Rugged up. It's beautiful here, isn't it?
It is lovely here.
You haven't had sun all the time.
Yeah, I have.
Sunny in Richmond Park.
Oh.
Blowing a gale.
Oh, we ended up heading home quite shortly after Mum arrived, because although it was really beautiful and sunny at the allotment, she had been up in the park coming back from somewhere and had to walk to the car, and there was no sun up there, and she's absolutely freezing. So she's like, I've got to go home and warm up. So we've come back. Cheers, chaps. Oh, first thing to say is I really hope the sound quality is okay. I have really geniusly left my microphone in the shed at the allotment. So we're running on the basic microphone, so apologies if it's a bit scratchy. But the second thing to say is that this week has really sort of passed me by a bit. I mean, what did we do at the allotment? Picked some stuff, or the tomatoes though, I'll get back to the tomatoes. We picked some stuff and I sowed some coriander. Like, that is about all that's happened. And the week has just sort of flown by. So we started off strong, and then the 4 days of rain in the middle really threw everything off. I had a friend's 40th birthday to go to, so that was one. It was Mum's birthday right at the beginning of the week, like I said. I said we'd be showing it on here. Well, I wasn't around on the day. I had to be at the council. And she went out with a friend of hers and they explored around Battersea Power Station. They've done a big, I would say new development, but it's been probably about 2 years now. But it's a big new kind of development thing. So they went and had a nose around there and went out for lunch. So she did do something on her birthday, but we've actually shunted it forward into this coming week. So we're doing Mum's birthday next week, although it was this week. You know what I mean? Sometimes these things just don't work out. But yeah, the 4 days of rain in the middle kind of wiped those days out. So I ended up doing a lot of admin-y type stuff at home, which needed doing. So I suppose it wasn't wasted time, but still. Right, so going back to the tomatoes. Finally, we actually had a decent sized harvest. Like, I felt really, really happy about that. Like, if that was the end of it, I'll be okay. Like, I fully accept that might be all we get, but at least we got something. So yes, talking about the taste of tomatoes, has anybody else found this? Like, that the tomatoes just don't have, I mean, they're nice, it's not that they're not lovely, but do you not think they just don't have that extra bit of that your homegrown tomatoes normally have? That's what I found anyway. That's what I found. And the thing is that I'm going off a flavour that I know really well, like the Sun Gold and the Garnet, although the Garnet have been slightly better. But they are a tomato that copes quite well. Like, you can grow Garnet outside, it doesn't mind a bit of cool weather. Whereas the Sun Gold really needs to be like in a greenhouse, you know, or a polytunnel, so it can get that proper sweetness, and it just hasn't happened. So my question is, has anybody else found that their tomatoes just aren't quite up to par this year? Not just in quantity, but in the actual quality of the tomatoes, because I have. and I just thought it was me, you know, I like my tomatoes, but having read that article where they were like, yeah, across the board, none of our tomatoes taste as good as they should do. So yeah, and that also goes for chilies. So I was talking to somebody the other day, and obviously my chilies are not ready yet, so I wouldn't really have much of an indicator on this, but he was saying that his chilies are nowhere near as hot as they normally are. Varieties that he grows every year, like the same 3 varieties that he grows, one's a whopper, one's medium, one's like a jalapeno, so like no heat, barely any heat. And he just said there's just so much reduction in how hot he would have expected them to be. So I wonder. That chili, by the way, that I couldn't remember the name of, is Aroma, not Aurora. I don't know. I think it's because it's multicoloured, because it's like green, purple, orange, red with a bit of a yellow in it. Like, somehow I got Aurora stuck in my head, and it's stuck. But no, it is Aroma. So thanks to Ian for giving me that one, because it's not one I'd grown before. And actually, the habanero that I normally grow is the basic orange habanero, which is such a delicious chili. But none of mine made it this year. So that is my only habanero. So come on, ripenings. What else did I have to tell you? Oh yeah, the lettuces that I was picking earlier, they have done so well. I'm a real fan of these Enviromesh boxes. Like, a real solid, sturdy box seems to do them the world of good. And the 2 that I had in there was Cos lettuce, which was called Valmain, and the other one is Webb's Wonderful. Now, Webb's Wonderful is a revolutionary lettuce to me. Absolutely wonderful. I haven't had a great deal of luck growing iceberg lettuces before, because they tend to get very slugged, and they don't often form that proper heart, so it kind of becomes a bit of a slug-eaten, crunchy, cut and come again mess, really open. Whereas these Webb's Wonderful are just, they're fantastic. And the taste, you know, I love the texture of an iceberg lettuce, but sometimes it can be a little bit lacking on the taste, like it's really just crunchy water. These are crunchy water with boomph added to them. So yeah, this was the first year I grew the Webb's Wonderful, and it has become now like a permanent. I will be growing that one into the future. Same with those white turnips, the Tokyo turnips. They were the ones that I got the free packet from Niwaki, right at the beginning of the year. We just chucked them in, and what a beautiful turnip. We ended up having those ones just peeled, because they're some of them had a little bit of a scummy outside, peeled, halved, and chucked in with a chicken stew. They were so beautiful, and the flavour I don't know if you know, sometimes turnips can be a little bit overpowering in flavour. These are mild and mellow and just a joy. So that's two things which are new ones this year that are permanents. Talking of that, kind of when you have your rotation list of the things which you know you're going to be kind of carrying on with. That's the thing about the tomatoes, is that like at the beginning of this year when I started sorting out which tomatoes I was going to grow. Sorry, I need some wine. Yeah, when I made that decision on which ones I was and wasn't going to grow, I kind of went for half, assuming that I'd get to try them and see how good they were, and then which ones I'd carry over, and then next year I'd be able to try the other half of the ones that I hadn't tried before. But I don't think this year is a realistic year to judge them on. So things that I'm like, that one's not that great, I won't do that one next year, could be an incredible tomato. It's just not this year. So yeah, difficult to know what to do about that one. Other than, you know, build an 80-foot polytunnel and grow all of the tomatoes. But that's not an option, sadly. So yeah, chaps, I think that's probably it for this week. I'm sorry that it seemed to be a little bit of a scatty video with actually very little substance, but you know, things happen. We're kind of heading into that time of year now where things are not quite so hectic as they were. Like, we're trying to pack in 20 things in each video. It's going to just like, you know, we just start relaxing at this time of year, don't we? Whopping cheers to my Patreons, who are the people whose names you see at the end of every video. They are the supporters and the main thing that keeps this vlog running. They're a joy. And thanks to everybody else who's been watching. I hope, I'm just looking out the window as I'm talking about this, and there's just this black rolling coming towards us over the hill. I think we're in for a wet evening. So anyway, cheers chaps, and I'll see you next week for delayed mum's birthday and more planting out.